What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the overall market moving forward, as we have other factors involving how the market's going to move, not to mention big earnings coming out for next week. But before I break into devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. You deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, and all friends in just about 11 days from now. Anyways, when it comes to Tesla, as you guys can see, we're seeing a bit of a downtrend that's being respected over here as Tesla's making lower highs and lower lows. And Tesla's going to be approaching this key support at 232, in my personal opinion, because the daily chart is showing more and more weakness as time goes on. But even though this is happening, we have other factors that will affect Tesla for next week that will actually kind of trump this. They're going to be a lot more significant. So I'm going to be talking about those real quick, then break down what's happening with the charts. So as a reminder, at least for the overall markets, okay, for Monday, there's not really much data coming out. It's all very, very minor. Same thing with Tuesday and Wednesday. On Wednesday, we do have some S&P Global Composite and Manufacturing and Services PMI reports coming out. So that could cause some volatility. That is a little bit more important, but not to the same extent as something like CPI. So it's not that crazy. But on Thursday and Friday, the data is more intense since we have the GDP numbers coming out, not to mention initial jobless claims and more data from the Fed. And then for Friday, we have the PCE data report that's going to be very important as well. So, as a summary, just know that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are kind of like more uh, not too data driven. There's not too much crazy data coming out on those days. But then Thursday and Friday, the data is a lot more intense. Then for the week, we have this earnings calendar that's very important. For Monday, we have Verizon announcing its earnings, which is not too crazy. But then Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be crazy earnings days because in the morning we have GM and Coca-Cola, and then in the afternoon after the market closes we have Tesla and Alphabet announcing their earnings right over here on Tuesday. For Wednesday we have AT&T, Ford, and IBM. Thursdays when we have American Airlines, and then Fridays when we have minor earnings coming out where nothing is too intense. But Tuesday is going to be very important for Tesla. Usually when Tesla approaches its earnings, we do tend to see upside approaching it before we see a big reaction. But in this case, Tesla's looking a little bit bearish for now. So even though it looks that way, it does not guarantee anything. We just have to wait and see what they end up announcing for their guidance. Guidance is going to be very, very key on what they announce. And if they say anything about the robotaxi event, that could also lead to a very, very big move. So you want to be very open-minded. I would be very careful with playing Tesla's earnings because there's so many ifs and buts, and it can be kind of tricky. Like even if they do very, very well with earnings, if their guidance is not as strong, it could still lead to the share price dropping. If earnings are so, but then they start hyping up the robotaxi event, the share price could still explode. It could still go to some crazy high levels and see a big squeeze. So it's kind of all over the place and depends a lot on what they end up saying. So you want to be very careful with this earnings. So we'll just have to see how things end up going. There's also news over here about the fear and greed index. Right now, the market is neutral, getting closer to fear. Momentum is kind of dipping a bit, just becoming greedy. It's getting closer to the 125 daily moving average. And then we also have other positions right over here. We actually have the put and call option positioning at extreme greed. Right now, it's in that position. We'll have to see if this increases anymore or not. But the reason why it's increasing is this is going to lead the markets to seeing less greed in this options chain. The 5-day average right now is starting to trend upwards, which means the puts are higher than the calls. We're starting to see a lot more put buying than before. So this is why this is trending upwards, and this is going to become less greedy as time goes on, get closer to fear as this starts to go up. On top of this, the VIX is getting a breakout above its 50 daily moving average, looks more bullish, which is a bearish signal for the markets. Anyways, I'm seeing a lot of talk right now about the robotaxi. There's some talk about whether or not Tesla will be able to build one, this and that. And honestly, guys, I want to say this. I think Tesla will build the robotaxi. I'm very confident it's going to be coming out. It's just that Tesla needs more time to figure out the design and other components. I want to clarify that the mainstream media is saying that the robotaxi event is going to be delayed until like past October, but we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure. Elon Musk and Tesla have not confirmed the exact date quite yet, but I do know that it is delayed most likely until like October. So we'll see if Tesla makes any announcements about this during their earnings call. This is going to be very important. If Musk starts hyping up AI, excuse me, AI and the robotaxi, that could still lead to big upside for Tesla. So we'll just have to wait and see. But we're not at earnings just yet. And from a technical standpoint, the share price does look a little bit more bearish. Could be looking for a little dip closer to where our 20 EMA is before we try to rebound. Generally, before earnings, Tesla does like to see some upside, but in this case, we're not doing that. We're actually seeing downside. So there might be a little dip coming. So just be very, very mindful of this. The daily is looking a little bit weak, and we're still yet to test our very, very key level. If you look at the 30 minutes time frame on Tesla, we also happen to have some very, very key levels worth watching. Basically, 242 is resistance alongside 246. We have 238 as support. If this fails, us watch for 235 and eventually 232 way down here. As of right now, there's a bit of a downtrend on Tesla. We're downtrending, we're making lower highs and lower lows, and we have some more imbalances to fill, which may actually lead to more downside. So when you pull up the 4-hour time frame as well, this pattern is more bearish looking. We have kind of like a double top. We're losing our 50 EMA, and we have this imbalance over here. So this is favoring downside. It looks like it's going to be dipping even lower towards that 232 level from a technical standpoint. We'll see if we gap up first and then continue lower, but that's what it's looking like in my personal opinion for now. For SPY, we're looking more bearish. We're continuing to fall even during the after hours. It looks more bearish. Let me just make it very clear that if we fail to hold 548, we have some supports worth watching. I think we could come all the way down towards the 542 area, 542.5. That's where we have this like channel starting. And if that fails, we'll be dipping all the way down to 540 flat. That's going to be our 200 EMA. If that fails, okay, there's another support we're watching, and that's going to be the 536 area. That's where we have this big gap to fill on SPY. So 3 supports, okay, or actually it's 4. 548, if that fails us, this imbalance takes us down to the 542s, and then below that we have 540. If that fails us, we're easily going all the way down to fill the gap to 536. It's very simple to play, guys. Just watch it as we continue lower. It does favor downside, so we might gap up and start dropping. For Nvidia, make sure you watch this 116 area. If we lose this, I'll be looking for a dip all the way down towards 112. If we rebound, we'll be looking for a test of about 124. But technically speaking, we have a double top leg structure. We look more bearish. Watch 116.5. I think we're going to test that next week. If it loses that, it's going to be dipping even lower. Bitcoin's trying to push higher. Look for 68,000 as resistance. We'll see what kind of reaction we get. So watch for that. QQQ is going to be testing 472.5. We'll see if we get a bounce off that or not, but overall it's looking a little bit more bearish, and then we'll have to see how things go. If we lose 472.5, we'll be dipping all the way down here to fill the gap towards 468. This chart is favoring downside in my personal opinion. For Apple's also dipping to 222. If we continue to fall here, we'll be looking for a move all the way down towards the 217 to 218 area, then eventually lower levels like 210. If we bounce off 222, we'll be looking for a rebound back up to 226, but I do favor some downside on this chart. It's going to likely test 222 again, and we'll see how it ends up reacting. Let me go over just a few more. I want to make this video kind of short since the weekend is coming up. We have a double top like structure on Supermicro. It does favor downside all the way down towards about 750. So just be open-minded for that. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're barely holding the support right here around this 216 area. If this fails, we have a gap to fill all the way down here for 213. It's looking more bearish, technically speaking, so I'll be very, very open-minded for that. For Coinbase, we're looking more bullish. Going to be looking for 260 and 262.5 as resistance levels. There's a good chance we might push higher thanks to Bitcoin. Amazon is kind of rejecting here. Make sure you look at resistance over here around this 185 area. Might go a little bit higher than see if we get a rejection, start dipping or not. But I think Amazon's going to rebound just a bit to 185. And we'll see how it reacts. Meta is not looking that great. It attempted to rebound. It attempted to fill this gap and kind of failed. So we're barely holding 475. If we fail here, I'll be looking for a dip back down to 464. If we hold this, we could try to fill this gap. And I'm just trying to say that with this wick forming, we favor downside. So it's looking kind of weak to me. For Microsoft, we're trying to rebound right here. Make sure you look at resistance around this 440 area and see if we get a big rejection or not. The trend is more bearish, and this could drop lower, especially after the bearish news that came out about, which was involved with like CrowdStrike and all the outages that happened. So be careful with Microsoft. There is a risk of downside. Google's barely holding 178. We're barely holding key support, okay? We have a gap to fill way down here. I'll be eyeing this gap towards about 178. I think we might be filling that gap. So we're barely holding support, which is currently at about 178.7. The odds favor even more downside, so watch for that as well. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. As far as Tesla goes, we are looking a little bit more bearish approaching earnings. I'll talk more about earnings tomorrow, and then we'll break down how things are looking at least moving forward. But until I see you guys again tomorrow, have a great day and peace out.